Okay, so what was the challenge? What were the challenges you faced as an educator in the classroom? The first question first, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so where teaching of English is concerned, one of the main challenges was students who were not really interested to learn the language. Mainly because they felt that it was not an important language to learn. The emphasis was on learning BM more than on learning English. So that is in the classroom. I found it very difficult to get the students to actually practice speaking in English. I think in some schools you have English Day where everyone is supposed to speak in English one day a week. So I was once teaching in a Malay school in Klang. 99% of the students were Malays, and it was very hard to get the English Day going because teachers were not also very willing to speak in English. Students were not willing to speak to each other in English because it was so much easier to communicate in DM because they are so used to speaking in DM. So, yeah.
Okay. So, what is the philosophy of teaching?
Pardon?
What is the philosophy of teaching?
Means what? I don't understand the question.
What is the philosophy of teaching?
Are you teaching in the subject, the English subject, or teaching in general?
Yeah.
Philosophy?
General. Yeah, general.
I don't get what do you mean by what is the philosophy of teaching?
Philosophy
the teaching style.
Pardon?
The teaching style. Your teaching style. That is what they mean of philosophy.
I still don't get what you mean by what's the philosophy of teaching science or English.
Okay.
It's okay, never mind. We proceed to another question.
I mean, you asked me about methodology. Yeah, I understand. Talking about methods, but philosophy means what?
Philosophy is like tries to understand the reasons or basic for things, how the things should be. It's something like that.
How what things should be?
Philosophy means, I think, like Montessori, something like that.
No, I think Montessori is more like methods. Montessori is also more. Oh, I can't remember that one for teaching younger kids, isn't it?
Yeah.
We are talking about teaching English to children or to students of what age group right now?
High school.
Secondary.
Secondary school?
Yeah.
Yes.
Secondary school.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so mainly challenges would be getting them to actually practice the language. Homework as well, because they don't have a strong foundation in the language. They were always struggling with the homework, vocabulary. Yeah. I also don't really understand question 2, where you're asking how would be the learning style during learning and teaching. Learning style, give me some examples of learning styles that you are referring to.
Learning style is maybe some students might learn from hearing, visualizing, like reading and writing, something like that. That is the different learning styles of a student.
Yeah, okay. So how would the learning style be during learning and teaching, is it?
Yes.
During language teaching? I think I will still try to cater to all the different learning styles so that you can reach as many students as possible. Even though you are teaching language, there are those students who are more visual, so you would actually need to write the words and not just say it. write the words on the blackboard so they can see it. You have to say the words, get them to say the words. Sometimes, if it was difficult to express it, then I would even act out some of the words and to show them the meaning. So, but that's teaching style. The learning style, how would it be during learning and teaching? Basically, we're talking about language. The best learning style is to actually practice the language. So I would get students to give them topics to discuss and have them to actually talk to each other about a small topic. For example, share with each other how to bake a cake. So I would write down all the vocabulary that they would need to use on the blackboard, get them to actually say the words, and then to take turns to describe to each other. So I would also, before they can do that, I would have to break down the steps. So, okay, vocabulary first, then teach them some sentence structures. So, for example, it's like baking a cake, then I would teach all the sequence words. First, you do this, second, you do that, third, and then finally. So I will teach them all these words first. And then after that, get them to form sentences and then partner up and tell each other how you do this in English. So it's the same thing. We would just look for topics for them to practice. It could be give directions how to get from your school to the bookshop down the road, or it could be how you would carry out conversation with someone to buy a ticket at the cinema, or how you would talk to a doctor in a clinic and explain your symptoms. So basically, to get that going, the learning style would be the same. Give them the vocab, get them to say it, then teach them the sentences, and then get them to practice with each other. And then maybe for those who are good at writing and who need to write it down, then to write down this kind of a conversation into their notebook so they can have a record of it. Practice time, get them to practice it out, because I think it's the most effective way to teach language. Also, I would give reading assignments. Go to the library. I think we've done this in one of our schools. We have books in plastic boxes, and there would be different levels. Some are easier stories, some are more difficult. And during free periods, we would actually send the monitor to the library and bring out one of these boxes and then distribute the books out, let them read it. So that actually helps a lot with improving their vocabulary. So actually need to use it.
How do you carry out the lesson for students in the classroom?
It depends on what kind of lesson I'm doing, right? Am I teaching grammar? Am I teaching vocabulary? Am I teaching essay writing? So depends on what I would be teaching. Then I would have to be carrying out in slightly different ways. So your question is a bit too wide.
Okay. So how do you adapt to students' needs in learning?
How do I adjust to students' needs? Possibly use simpler words and sentences if I'm teaching a younger class or a class who is less able in the language. And then for students who are intermediate level to go on to more difficult words and sentences, discuss more abstract topics. Adapt to students' needs. Right now, if you ask me, I think students don't see any need to learn English because they can go out and get everything done this using VM. Talk about going to the shop to buy something. Why would I want to use English? I can do it in VM. The shopkeeper understands me better in VM than in English. Same thing at the cinema. You teach me how to buy tickets in the cinema, but the girl at the counter is asking me in Malay, So how do I adapt to students' needs? I don't know. That was one big issue we had when we were teaching English. The student did not see a need to learn the language. And yeah, so I think the only thing that possibly works better is when we wanted to teach them song lyrics, because they didn't mind learning to sing English songs. In fact, they were quite interested to learn English songs. So there were places where we actually bring in songs into the classroom and gave them the lyrics, and then or we would write out the lyrics of the songs on the board, but we leave out certain words, like fill in the blanks, right? So we actually leave out certain words that we want them to pick up, and then let them listen to the song and the lyrics, and then fill in the words, that were left out. Listen carefully. What was this word? What word goes into this blank? And so they would learn to actually listen to the words, how it's spoken, how it's pronounced in the song. And then when we put in the word, then we would ask them, okay, what is the meaning? And from there, slowly work some interest in the students to learn in English. And of course, you can always follow up that with song competition between the students. But that only works if the students are interested in singing or that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't see any other situation where they might learn a need to know English. Okay, the only other one is to read maybe manuals of, like, when you buy something and how to use manual for how to use your kitchen blender, But lately we found out that the instructions in English were also very, very bad English. So that's not very bad. So yeah, what you could do is bring a manual that has very bad English and ask the student, okay, look, this is very bad English. Your English is better. Let's improve on this. How would you write it better? And then you can work on that. That might work also with students. Not personally tried that method, but it's not something I wouldn't. It's not something that I would not try lah. Being so desperate to get them to like the language and to see the importance of the language, I would even be desperate enough to do something like that.
Okay, teacher.
So your question 4 is, how much do you want to know about your students in order to be most helpful to them?
Yes.
Yeah. I would want to know about their family background. I would like to know about the neighborhood in which they stay, because that actually determines a lot about their willingness to want to pick up the language. I have had students in rural kampongs who say, teacher, you don't ask us to practice English at home. I will be laughed at by my siblings, by my brothers and sisters. My neighbors would laugh at me and say, hey, check out orang putih, that kind of thing, So, yeah, I would like to know about their neighborhood, maybe even what kind of jobs their parents are doing. I would ask them directly, would you have an opportunity to practice the language at home? And most of the time they would say no, we only speak our mother tongue and at home. So yeah, parents would be able to understand this if we spoke English and things like that. So that would straight away give me an indication of how easy to teach the language, how willing they would be to learn. Okay. Yeah, because language is something you just need to practice. There's no shortcut to it. Yeah, I would also ask things like, when you watch TV, what kind of movies do you watch? If it's like all Tamil movies or Chinese movies, then it's going to be a very difficult thing to get into. Yeah, you can also like recommend if they do have some English channels at home. I would watch out for simple cartoons and get them to try and watch that and just to get used to hearing the language. That helps a lot. So.
Okay. Then, teacher, what are your strengths as a teacher?
My strengths as a teacher?
Yes.
I would say that I can be quite creative in looking for different methods to get my students to learn. I would say that I am quite good at breaking down complex topics into simple steps so that they can learn progressively. I would be able to put myself in the shoes of a student and say, okay, if the teacher wants me to do this, what would I require the teacher what kind of preparation would I require the teacher to do so that I can actually succeed to do it? I am quite okay with that, at that kind of thing, how to break learning down into small chunks, small steps so that it becomes something doable for the student.
Okay. What's the biggest challenge today's student face?
The biggest challenge today's students face?
Yes.
I would say a lot of it is their addiction issues. Many of them are not given the skills to manage time. I would say also the biggest challenge is lack of attention from parents who don't spend a lot of time talking to their kids, finding out and communicating with their kids, and that a lot of times the communications are very, I don't know if you understand this, but very transactional. Parents are always like very giving one-way instructions to kids. I want you to do this, I want you to do that. It's very business-like kind of conversations, why and asking, why is this not done? Didn't I tell you this, that? So there's a lot of instructions communicated between parents and kids, and there is not a lot of meaningful conversations. Parents, I feel, are not really good at digging out the problems that their kids are facing. Kids at the same time are also not good at expressing where they are at, what problems they are facing. They tend to keep a lot of things to themselves because parents tend to judge them very quickly, don't give them room to express themselves. So the biggest challenge these students face actually is how to communicate with people, how to manage their lives, because they're not getting a lot of directions or good examples from society. Even like parents who tell their kids, you're spending far too much time with your phone. They themselves are on the phone half the time, most of the time. And so it's like, why are you asking me to do something that you yourself cannot do? That kind of thing. So one of the biggest challenges these students face is finding good role models to show them what living right looks like. Because if you look at our leaders, they are not putting up any good example. And I've asked this to kids before, standard 6, 12-year-old kids. Name a person whom you consider as your hero. none of them could name an actual person who they can consider as a hero in their lives, who inspires them to dream, or who inspires them to do better, or whom they look up to, or whom they really respect because of some character strength in that person. Not one student could give me an example. This is a recent one because I still deal with children at up to age 12. So yeah, it's quite sad. So finding that today's students are quite sometimes like the lost generation. Yeah.
Okay. For the last question, how was the experience during teaching for struggling students?
Very long question. Yeah. How
was the experience? How was the experience?
How was the experience?
Teaching for struggling students compared to advanced students.
Experience teaching what kind of students?
Struggling students,
Advanced students, struggling students, and advanced students.
How was my experience teaching what students compared to advanced students? What that group of students before advanced?
Struggling is something like they are unable to slow learners. Yeah. Advanced is like very intelligent.
Yeah, I know. I heard the word advanced, but what's the other word?
Struggling.
Advanced students.
Advanced. I know. What's the other group of students?
Struggling students.
Studying students.
Struggling students.
Starting like beginning, is it? Beginning students.
Beginning. STRU. Struggling.
Studying or starting?
Struggling. Yes.
Oh, okay. Experience teaching struggling students compared to advanced students, is it?
Yes.
Okay. Of course, it is very challenging to teach struggling students because their progress is very slow, and you need to be more patient. You need to break it down into even more simpler steps. So what you can do with advanced students, maybe in one lesson, you would probably take 3 lessons to get them there. And that at the same time, you may not even get the whole group to that level. So experience. Of course, teachers would love to all have advanced students to teach, but then if we all got students who are already good, then what is your role as a teacher, you see? So, I actually like to have students who are kind of like struggling as well, so that you are actually more helpful to these students. You actually play a more useful role for these students than advanced students. Because for advanced students, then your role becomes one where you inspire them to go further, where you make it more attractive, you give them more challenging situations to tackle so they can go further. But whichever it is, I think a teacher has no say or has very little control over what kind of students she gets. Certain years, the students come in, they are quite good because they've got better foundations, maybe because they had better teachers. Certain years, the students come in, they are weaker. So it is what it is. It's part of the package. So experience, something good at that. I don't know what else to say about this. Have you done any teaching practice already?
Not yet.
Oh, not yet, nah. So you've not gone out for as a trainee teacher yet.
Haven't teacher.
Okay. So when they do send you out, what age group of students are you trained to teach?
Secondary level.
Upper or lower secondary?
Upper.
Upper secondary.
Yep.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
So, any more questions?
That's all, teacher.
Oh, that's all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you
Okay,
so
no
much.
problem. Yeah, welcome. Hope that was helpful. I don't know. All right. Thank you. Let me know how else I can be of assistance to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Good night.
Okay.